What if the life you've spent decades building isn't the life you actually chose? What if, after 65, the quiet routines you trust, the roles you've played, the sacrifices you've made, are hiding a truth you've never fully faced? There's a story I want to tell you, but I'm not going to give you the ending yet, because the ending is what changes everything. A woman in her 70s sat beside her husband in a hospital room, 41 years of marriage behind them, a lifetime of shared decisions, shared routines, shared responsibilities. She believed what most people believe, that loyalty, consistency, and sacrifice automatically lead to fulfillment in old age. But something was missing, and she didn't know it yet. Let's rewind. In early adulthood, most relationships don't begin with clarity. They begin with momentum. You meet someone, you align on the obvious things, you move forward because it feels right. According to long-term relationship studies in the United States, many couples in their 20s prioritize stability and compatibility over deeper emotional alignment. Nothing seems wrong. In fact, everything seems responsible. You build a life. Careers grow. A home is established. Children may arrive. Responsibilities increase. And slowly, without noticing, your identity starts to merge into the structure of the relationship. Here's the first clue. When identity merges too deeply, individuality begins to fade. But in your 20s and 30s, you don't feel that loss. You feel purpose. Now step into the 40s. Life becomes busier, predictable, structured. According to American Time U surveys, couples in midlife spend significantly less time in meaningful conversation compared to earlier decades. Communication becomes functional. Discussions revolve around schedules, finances, obligations. The emotional layer starts thinning. But it doesn't feel urgent, because everything still works. This is where the second clue appears. Comfort replaces curiosity. And when curiosity fades, connection slowly follows. Now we move into the shift after 70 that most people ignore. Roles change again. Children are gone. Careers end. The structure that once held the relationship together begins to dissolve. What's left is the core connection, or the absence of it. According to research from the National Institute on Aging, many long-term couples report increased emotional distance in later years, especially when shared external responsibilities disappear. This is where the silence gets louder, to people sitting in the same room, but not truly seeing each other. And then comes the breaking point. In that hospital room, after decades of routine, her husband said something unexpected, not dramatic, not emotional. Just honest. I don't think we ever really knew each other. That was it. 41 years, reduced to a realization that had been building quietly the entire time. Now pause for a second. If that statement feels uncomfortable, it should, because this isn't a rare story. This pattern repeats across millions of seniors. In the United States, the fallout is not just emotional. It affects health. Studies show that emotional disconnection increases stress hormones, impacts cardiovascular health, and even affects immune function. Loneliness, even within a relationship, is linked to higher mortality risk. It affects money. Late life separations or emotional withdrawal can lead to financial strain, changes in living arrangements, and unexpected expenses. It affects lifestyle. Daily routines lose meaning. Motivation drops. Social circles shrink. And here's where most people try to fix it, but fail. They try to reconnect suddenly after decades of distance. They expect deep emotional change without new habits. They rely on the past instead of building something new. Old advice says stay committed and everything will work out. Modern research says connection requires continuous effort, not just presence. Now here's the part you've been waiting for. What were the signs she missed? Because this is where the real lesson begins. First, the absence of meaningful conversation. Not talking about logistics, talking about thoughts, fears, desires. Studies show that couples who maintain deep communication have significantly higher life satisfaction in later years. Second, the loss of shared growth. When couples stop learning or experiencing new things together, the relationship becomes static, and static systems degrade over time. Third, Emotional avoidance. Avoiding difficult conversations doesn't protect a relationship. It weakens it slowly. Psychology research consistently shows that unresolved tension compounds over decades. Fourth, over-reliance on routine. Routine creates stability, but too much of it replaces connection with habit, and habit alone cannot sustain emotional closeness. Fifth, ignoring individual identity. When one or both partners lose their personal sense of self, the relationship becomes unbalanced. Healthy relationships require whole individuals, not one merged identity. Now bring this back to today. Right now, millions of people over 60 are living in relationships shaped more by history than by intention. That doesn't mean those relationships are doomed, but it does mean something important. Awareness is the turning point. If this is making you think about your own life, take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And tell me in the comments, what do you think matters most in a long relationship? Now here are 3 direct actions you can take starting today. First, ask one real question, not how was your day. Ask something deeper, something that invites reflection. Start rebuilding curiosity. Second, create one shared experience this week. It doesn't have to be big. A walk, a new activity, a conversation without distractions. The goal is not time, it's presence. Third, reconnect with yourself. Spend time understanding your own thoughts, your own interests, your own identity. Because a strong relationship starts with two aware individuals. Here's the warning: if you ignore emotional distance because everything feels fine, you risk waking up one day realizing the connection you thought you had was never fully built. And here's the thought I want to leave you with. What if the real tragedy isn't losing someone after decades, but realizing too late that you never truly knew them? In the next video, we're going to uncover a hidden behavior that slowly erodes even the strongest relationships, and most people don't even notice it happening. If you want stronger connections, deeper understanding, and a more intentional life after 60, stay with us. Like, share, comment, and subscribe for the next, because the life you build emotionally matters just as much as the life you build physically.